Wednesday, October 30th. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on Wednesday, October 30th. We are very happy to have you here for another episode of the Prime Time Show. So the second-year quarterbacks are getting benched all over the place. And the question becomes, all right, how close does the Titans situation resemble the Carolina Panthers and in the Indianapolis Colts for what is going on here? We're going to work our way through that specifically because Levis did return to practice today, though we will see how much he is able to continue to participate, whether or not he plays and starts against the Patriots. This is very much a wait and see type of process, but the point stands, he hasn't been benched yet, unlike two of his four compatriots who were drafted in the first or second round alongside him in 2024. So we will get into these things together, and we will keep tabs on World Series game number 4 for you throughout the course, or rather 5 for you throughout the course of this evening, because the Yankees did find ways to survive and do seem like they might be able to pull out another one here tonight, at least in the early going. Yankees found the offense last night and are trying to at least continue that trend. I think Dave Roberts is going to be criticized as Jazz Chisholm just hit a solo home run to go up 3-0 right now at the start of this World Series game. But we're here to talk Titans. We're here to talk quarterbacks. We're here to determine whether or not Will Levis is being handled appropriately relative to expectations. So we'll do all of those things. We will dive in together, and we will see what determinations we find as a group. Before we get started, I need you guys to share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you choose to spend your time with us. Thank you for spending your time with us, by the way. But we appreciate when you invite even more of your friends to come share in the joy or sadness, whatever these things end up being. Speaking of joy, I do have good news. We'll get to that at the halfway point. I know that's typically the morning show's thing. Ain't that good news? But this is good news on a thing that we've been working diligently to try to accomplish. And at least if your football team is going to be bad, we should make the most out of it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine folks at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com, get your dream address without the stress. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. By Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on all the action, and True Math Fitness in the Gulch, where your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMathFitness.com for more information. So we've had a rash of benchings here in the first half of the season. We are not yet through the halfway point. Sunday will mark the halfway point or over halfway point of an 18-week regular season schedule. With everything that's gone on, these young quarterbacks, though, are being turned or churned and burned as fast as you've ever seen them. And with Levis still tangentially, we'll say, holding on to his starting job, even though he obviously hasn't been available to start in the last 2 weeks, Anthony Richardson benched this week since the last time we met, and also Bryce Young, after week 2 of the NFL season, was sat down by the Carolina Panthers. It's fair to examine all three of these situations and see if we can't determine any similarities into why they have gone so awry for every second-year quarterback not named C.J. Stroud. With Levis in particular, Burt said last night I was getting traded to the Chiefs. Did you? Did you in fact say that, Bert? I know he's not feeling well, but he can provide a mea culpa perhaps if he did try and trade me away. What did you trade me for? He's probably not paying attention. He's probably playing video game.
We were discussing how you would feel if you were traded to the Chiefs and actually got to cover someone who had a good football team. And then you were talking about the way you would find things to still bitch about, like you would be talking to Taylor Swift like, I can't believe I have to do this. Oh, Taylor. And you'd be talking to Taylor and be like, oh, God, I hate the damn food in this press box. All they've got are these gourmet lobsters. And, you know, you'd find something to bitch about, even covering a good team. That's what we said.
It's true. Kansas City is a terrible place. I hate their weather. I wouldn't want to live there. So I would be miserable covering an 8-0 football team, just as I'm miserable covering a 1-6 football team. I have a knack for finding the miserable. But regardless, you can't trade me away. I've got a well, I don't have a no trade clause, but it would be very, very difficult. Also, Kansas City would have to want me, and I don't think that anybody in Kansas City wants anything to do with this. That right is exclusively reserved for you, poor bastards, out there watching this primetime show and listening to the radio show for 3 hours a day. Either way, with everything that's going on, Levis, Sad Boy Radio update, says Rick Bates. Do you want the good news now? Well, I'll leave it up to the group. Do you want the good news now or do you want the good news later? Because the good news does involve Sad Boy Radio. We are very excited about the Sad Boy Radio merch that is potentially coming your way with everything that is going on at this point. But we can focus on the quarterbacks first, and we'll get to the Sad Boy updates later on. But quarterbacks are sad boys right now. Second-year quarterbacks are sad boys. Richardson sat down. He's completing 44.4% of his passes. His teammates were interviewed in the locker room today about it. His coach was asked questions about it. But everybody seems to be even begrudgingly on board with the idea that you can't win games with Anthony Richardson right now.
All right, I'll start off just by confirming Joe will be our quarterback going forward. Tough decision, but one I felt was in the best interest of our football team. I feel that Joe gives us the best chance to win right now. With that being said, not giving up on Anthony by any means, really not. He's a young player with a ton of talent. And he'll use this time to continue to develop and grow as a professional.
So moving forward is also what Shane Steichen, the Colts head coach, had to say about Anthony Richardson, which means that this is not a temporary benching. This means that they are moving forward with Anthony Richardson, or rather with Joe Flacco as the starter for the remainder of the season. They're 4-4 right now. And the question that I'm going to ask you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, if those are the places that you would like to get involved with us here tonight, is this: of these three quarterbacks, Levis, Young, and Richardson, as you look at the way that they're being handled, which quarterback would you rather have at this point? Anthony Richardson, who's been benched, Will Levis, who is struggling, or Bryce Young, who has also been benched but has returned recently to the lineup here in the last week or so? It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's presented by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service. Two Rivers Ford goes above and beyond to make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. Which of the three would you want? Young, Richardson, or Levis? You have to pick one. You can't say Shedeur Sanders. You can't say Cam Ward. Those quarterbacks are not a part of this hypothetical, nor do I think that they should be in the Titans' quarterback future, but that's a conversation that we will have another day. They're not great options to pick from, right? But none of these young quarterbacks seem to be succeeding, save Stroud, who we know definitively to be special at the NFL level. And we only know that Stroud has been able to show how special he is because he's got the best skill position group in the division. He's got the best left tackle in the division. He's got a defensive-minded head coach who's got some legit horses now to execute that defense well. He's got a good team that they were able to put together in the aftermath of the Deshaun Watson trade to turn one of the most dysfunctional organizations into one of the NFL's best. Sometimes all it takes is the quarterback to cover up a lot of this stuff. In fact, most often it is the quarterback that covers up most of this stuff. But let's take a look at Richardson and the Colts. The Colts compete. They aren't outright contenders, but they are relevant enough. They're 500. They got a 46.1% chance to make the playoffs. They've still got a 9.1% chance to win the AFC South, and they've been in every game. Their three losses, according to ESPN, have come by an average of 3.7 points. But the clarity or lack, we do have clarity on the quarterback position. It's going to be Joe Flacco, who has 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, and is significantly better than Richardson, who has far more interceptions than he does touchdown passes at this point. But he's only started 10 games, and now his future is very much uncertain. But Richardson in the Colts situation is a bit more house money because they don't have to play Richardson right away. They tried to. It didn't work. They wanted to get him experience. It didn't help. So now they're taking the complete opposite approach and saying, a step back can be beneficial here. They also have something that the Titans situation does not. Two of these three quarterbacks have something in common. What do Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young have in common that Will Levis does not? Well, the most obvious thing is that Will Levis is a second-round pick, which means what? That means that they only have 2 more years beyond this year of team control on Will Levis's contract. In the case of Young, in the case of Richardson, those are first-round picks, which means they have the 5th-year option attached to their contract. Now, whether or not those things get picked up obviously remains to be seen. But the point is that if you pick Levis, for example, well, theoretically, Levis has a shorter clock than these other two because these other two technically have 3 years of team control still at hand. MB says, what do they have in common? They both suck, ? No, it is the team control, and that does matter. Nor am I interested in saying that 2 of them are black and 1 of them is white. That's not the comparison that I was making there. Like R. Johnson, who says they're black, ? Yes, Captain Obvious. Congratulations to you. You've identified the 2 African-American quarterbacks and the 1 Caucasian in the conversation. Well done by you. But with everything that's going on right now, the team control here matters because it allows you more flexibility to essentially fuck around. Oh, I shouldn't have cussed, but to F around and find out, right? To mess around and find out with these quarterbacks. And they may all suck, but I'm sure many of you thought Geno Smith sucked 10 years ago, and Geno Smith is now one of the best quarterbacks in football. I'm sure many of you thought Sam Darnold sucked, and he did for a time until such time as he became an MVP candidate on his 4th team. I'm sure many of you thought that Baker Mayfield sucked when he went through the Carolina Panthers and the Los Angeles Rams, came out clean on the other side as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback who is currently vying for the top spot in the NFC South. A lot of these quarterbacks take time, and most organizations don't give them sufficient time. But with everything that you've got going on right now, it is an interesting question to have to pick between the 3. Brian Callahan was asked today about quarterback development in the league at large. And I'm going to give you my answer on the 3 of them here in just a second, which one I would rather have moving forward today and moving forward here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com, dream address without the stress, the intel edge you need to succeed. From the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators, that, of course, is GaryAshton.com. Here's Brian Callahan asked today about quarterback development.
Every player and organization has different ways they go about it. So I'm not speaking for anybody, but I just think there's a couple of factors at play for some of the things that happen in the league. I think one, the quarterback position is the toughest position to play in sports. It's really difficult to play quarterback, and then it's even more difficult to play at a level that everybody wants their quarterback to play at. The top 4 or 5 guys in the league, everybody's searching for that. It's really hard to do, and there's some of the factors I think are, there's the economic factor of having a young quarterback on a rookie deal that allows for financial flexibility, so you can build a better roster and not pay the quarterback what they're getting paid now, $60 million plus now, as a part of the whole picture of building a team. I think college football and NFL football are so dramatically different right now. There's very few pro-style offenses in college. There's a lot of things about what those guys do in college that works really well in college, and then there's a whole different level when you get here. The biggest thing for me, the protections, understanding protections, how to protect yourself, how to set protections, the pressures you see in the high leverage spots in games. So those are just some minor things, but there's also then now the patience part, which, as we all know, as I said the other day, there's not a lot of patience in pro sports in general, and sometimes it does take a little bit of time to learn all of those things. And then there's you're balancing winning with developing, and that's a very, very hard thing to do in pro football, probably in every professional sport, because fans want success and ownerships want success, and all of those things are all normal. They're part of it, but I think sometimes those things conflict and they run into each other, where you're trying to to win because people's jobs are on the line, and then you're trying to develop because guys need development. So it's a really tricky thing, but I think it also stems mostly from the fact that it's just such a difficult position to play, and there's so much demand on that position that you have to play a good amount of football to learn all of those lessons, I think. So
that's Brian Callahan speaking at his press conference today on the idea of quarterback development. Now, which of the three would you pick, Richardson, Young, or Levis, today and moving forward? I think the answer is the same. It's a tough one, right? Because Levis is theoretically the second best quarterback in that class, which would make Titans fans scream saying that out loud. But it's true. Out of the four that went of the top four quarterbacks that were selected, because Hendon Hooker didn't go later until the third round. Of course, he was dealing with injury and whatever other slights that were held against him, because NFL people don't think that the Vols offense translates to the NFL. And to date, the only one that's really had success is Darnell Wright, and he's a tackle. But it's a tough thing to say, because right now the Titans have the second best quarterback out of that draft class. And as Benjamin Buck says, that's true, but it's not saying much. Correct. So let's start with Bryce Young. Bryce Young, I would take last out of these three. I have no interest in Bryce Young. He's a wonderful person from everything that I hear, everything that's reported on, all of the things, all of the people around him. Nick Saban has nothing but glowing, effusive praise for the person that Bryce Young is and the player that he was when he was there at Alabama. But what stands out about Bryce Young? What stands out about Bryce Young is that he's an exception. Now, that does not mean that he is exceptional. Those are two different things. Bryce Young's size is an exception. He is tiny. I mean, I'm 6'2" and I tower over Bryce Young. Okay. And I'm not like, I have no idea what the average height of an adult male human being is, but I'm going to assume it's 6'5'11". Bryce Young would be looking up at both of those people at 5'11", 6 foot, or me at 6'2". He's an exception. Exceptions very rarely work out in the NFL. If you're making an exception on a player, it better be because that player is exceptional. Baker Mayfield was undersized, but he has more durability to him. Kyler Murray is undersized, and Kyler Murray has exceptional talent that Bryce Young does not. Who else is an example of this? Tua is not undersized compared to Bryce Young. Tua is significantly bigger than Bryce Young, and Tua is also exceptional at one certain thing. Now, while Bryce Young was an exceptional college football quarterback, he has not been an exception, or he has been nothing but an exception at the NFL level. So I would not go in the direction of Bryce Young. In fact, here is Dave Canales, the Panthers head coach at the time that they benched Bryce Young.
I get into specifics of comparison. I just know Andy gives us our best chance to win this week. So we're going with Andy, and he'll get the lion's share of it, and I'm looking for great things from him.
And, it worked for a game, but largely the Panthers. And, Bryce Young also started this last game, but Andy Dalton hasn't been able to save the Panthers, right? But they are more competitive with Andy Dalton, professional quarterback, than they are with Bryce Young, who is still an exception to the rule. So if I had to stack them, I would place Bryce Young at the bottom, even though he was the number one overall pick by the Carolina Panthers. I believe that to have been a mistake. The other part of this is I would go Levis second. Levis second, because if you ask me which is the better quarterback, Levis is the better quarterback, clearly and obviously, than Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is an uber talented athlete that they are trying to get to play the quarterback position at the NFL level. But here's the thing about Levis that differentiates him below Richardson to me. If you had to make me pick one of the three, none of them are good options right now. But the difference between Levis and Richardson to me is, one, Anthony Richardson has a significantly higher ceiling. Two, I don't trust what's going on in Will Levis's head. And that is not something that can be, I mean, it can be coached by a sports psychologist, say, but that is also something that is going to take time, take effort. And when I say time, I don't mean a matter of like, hey, let's sit him down with a psychologist and let's hash this shit out in a week. No. To unwind a quarterback that is that tightly wound, we're talking about potentially months and years of level of discourse to try and figure out whether or not you can identify what's going on in his head. Now, Richardson is, of course, a much less refined player at the quarterback position, but he has talent that is off the charts. He is the most athletic quarterback in the history of NFL combine testing to ever go through the drills. I don't know if he will ever be able to play quarterback, but if you had to make me bet on one of them, I would bet on the one with the highest up, same way that the NFL did. I would bet on the one with the highest upside. Carolina ended up making a mistake with young Anthony Richardson. I mean, CJ Stroud should have been the number 1 overall pick, but Anthony Richardson probably still should have been selected over Bryce Young because you are gambling on upside. Now, it is a gamble. It is a huge gamble, and the Colts lost that gamble for 2024. But it doesn't mean that they can't make it better in 2025 or try and, if they wanted to, pick up his 5th-year option in 2026 and try and continue to see this guy progress and grow if he's capable of that. Now, again, like I said, he may not be capable. He may not be capable. But I can't work with Young when he is as physically ill-equipped to compete at the NFL level as he is. I can't in good conscience go with Levis because, I mean, I don't know. It feels unfair to call him a head case. I don't think that the guy is unhinged or anything like that. But when it comes to his decision-making in game, I cannot trust him. I have no reason to trust him. He has not given you any reason to trust him. In fact, he has given you quite the opposite. He has given you reasons to not trust him on a regular basis. So all 3 of them are bad options right now. As we sit here on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, you would say, well, I don't want any of those guys. They can't play. Levis, I think, honestly, has played the best football out of any of the 3 of them, but that's not saying much because Levis he hasn't quarterbacked them entirely to a 1-6 season, but Levis also hasn't quarterbacked this team to a win since December of last year against the Miami Dolphins. So for me, I understand why you would look at this and say no thank you to any of them. But if I made you pick one, I think your best bet is Anthony Richardson, even though right now that looks like a complete and total disaster and something that is light years away from being a professional NFL quarterback right now, especially with the bullshit that he pulled on Sunday, where he pulled himself out of the game for, I'm pretty sure it was a 3rd down because he was winded, which means that his conditioning is shit or that he lacks the mental or physical toughness to gut it out in that spot. It wasn't even that crazy of a run. I appreciate that I'm not a professional athlete and that I can't do the things that Anthony Richardson can do with my body that he can do with his, but that to me was bullshit. And it, to everybody in the league, it was bullshit. To his center, to his head coach, it ended up being the tipping point. It made it a lot easier to bench him this week than if he would have just gone out there and, what was he, like 10 of 24 or 10 of 34 this week in that loss that they had to the Houston Texans. A game that, by the way, if they got even menial quarterback play, a.k.a. Joe Flacco, they probably beat the Houston Texans. And that's a huge thing for them because it would at least give them a head-to-head, if not first place in the division, a head-to-head victory, if not first place in the division. So, like I said, if I'm betting on Richardson. One doesn't have the physical tools, I don't think, to make it long-term in the NFL. The other one is talking about rewiring his brain 2 weeks into the 2024 season and still hasn't been able to get it right. So I'm taking the lesser of 3 evils in that spot. Now the next question becomes this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section, which team should stick with their year 2 quarterback beyond 2024? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch is how you can interact together. We will discuss at length right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible By TrueMap Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMapFitness.com. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMapFitness.com is where you go. I should say that the Texans are disqualified from this conversation because that's obvious. Obviously, the Texans are not going to do anything with C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is one of the best 5 quarterbacks in football. Best 6 quarterbacks in football, let's say. So Bryce Young, AR, or Levis, which of their current teams should stick with them beyond 2024, whether that's in a starting role or a backup capacity? Let's see. Titans, says Jay. Also, Dick Butkus says Titans. Billy Sullivan agrees. Byron Charles says none, which, by the way, can be the answer. Richardson, since he has missed almost all of last season. Major Keys says Tennessee, so he can get another high pick and get Archie. Chosen says the Panthers should gut it out with Bryce Young, as does Benjamin. They agree. Levis, I think, is the player that his team should stick by him the least. Will Levis is if Will Levis is not the starting quarterback in 2025, then you need to get Will Levis off the roster. Now, I'm not saying that you cut him. I'm saying that you try and find a trade partner for him. And if you can get a 7th-round pick from Malik, perhaps you can package Levis with some of these picks that you've spent time this season trading away guys to acquire picks. Perhaps you package Levis in a 4th to get a 3rd-round pick that you traded away for L'Jarius Sneed. I'm in favor of, if Levis does not establish himself, and he's running out of time to do it, if he has not already, or if they have not already made that determination. But if Will Levis is not the starter for 2025 definitively, don't even put that thing in a quarterback competition. You're drafting a rookie to play the rookie, or you're signing a veteran to play the veteran. Will Levis is a cost-effective backup. I'd rather have Mason Rudolph in that spot. I would rather get what I can for Will Levis while he's still got 2 years of team control. I don't think that either side, Titans or Levis, benefit from keeping him around just to replace him or just to fake some kind of quarterback competition in the fall. And if there is real quarterback competition between whomever they bring in, rookie or vet, to compete with Will Levis, then they've probably made a mistake. So with all that said, Levis is the person who I think his team should stick by him the least at the end of this season. I think that both answers to these questions is Anthony Richardson. I think that Anthony Richardson is the player that deserves deserves is the wrong word, but that makes the most sense to ride it out with long term. You have team control. You have athletic gifts that nobody else has. Bryce Young is not that guy, and perhaps Bryce Young can be a backup quarterback and, become the next Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith type of player who goes on to have a career renaissance at some point. I hope that for all 3 of these guys, because it doesn't look like it's going to be with their original teams right now. But again, for both of these things, I would pick Richardson because I'm betting on the player with the highest odds to succeed at the NFL level. That to me is Anthony Richardson, even though he has not put it together as a starting NFL quarterback. If people are going to make the excuse for Will Levis that he hasn't started a full NFL season, which would be 17 games, Richardson has only started 10. So there's a lot more there, one would imagine. And if there's not, well, then it's a sunk cost, and you've taken a chance on a 4th overall pick who you wanted to be Josh Allen, but has fallen ridiculously short. Patrick says the average person is not 5'9". I'm not freakishly tall. Who is freakishly tall? Slay is freakishly tall. Even Slay is not freakishly tall. Freakish to me, and maybe this is just because I work around Giants for a living, because like when I walk into the locker room, I'm not the shortest person in an NFL locker room, but I'm pretty undersized. Like Harold Landry and I are about the same height. Now, obviously, Harold built much different than I am, but surely to God, the average human being is not 5'9". That's tiny. Can that be so? Maybe that's why all these women out here on Hinge are saying that men lie about their height all the time, because they're all actually 5'9". That's hilarious. Jesus was 5'5". Careful who you call average. Well, it doesn't mean that he was average, but it means that he was below average height. He's a little fella. If, not to get sacrilegious in here, because you are allowed to have faith in whomever you choose to have faith, whatever your religious preferences are, whether he's a short king in Jesus or I don't know who's an overwhelmingly tall religious figure. I can't think of one off the top of my head. This is just showing my lack of religious education. But yeah, 5'9" is minuscule. I just can't imagine that the average height. Ben Henley asked, what is average? I have no idea. I just assumed 6 foot was average. But yeah, a bunch of short kings out here at 5'9". All right, right on. Keep it going, baby. You can buy no free ads, but you can buy Tecovas. You can get some cowboy boots. Those are like man heels. Also, Hokas. I put my Hokas on because I'm 90 years old and I like how comfortable they are when I work out in them. I'm like 6'4" in Hokas. Those things are way off the ground. I guess it's all the padding to make the impact less. Either way, if you're a short king, perhaps you're happy with that. But I'm shocked to find out that 5'9" is the average height of an adult male in the U.S. 5'7" in the world, 5'9" in the U.S. Still, just a bunch of short kings out here. All right, right on. Keep on keeping on. Anyway, the answer to both of these questions tonight for me is the same. It's Anthony Richardson. Now to rising and falling on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week in sports? We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. And in fact, I got a new email from Zen Sports about things that I need to tell you today. Oh, they're having a tailgate. If you want to get food and beverage at this upcoming Titans game, if you want to wash away your sadness or eat away your feelings at this upcoming Titans game at Nissan Stadium, then Zen Sports is the place that you go. Let me find exactly the details on this Zen Sports tailgate. They will be at the official Titans tailgate party on Sunday. So if anyone is interested in joining, contact Zen Sports customer support for more information. They will be able to get you tickets. It's all inclusive with your purchase, free food and booze, and a DJ with the price of admission. Go to zensports.com for more information and bet in the Zen Sports app. The promo code ATOZTN. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. Okay, so whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week in sports? Benjamin says AR is going to join Isaiah Wilson and release a new rap album. No, because Isaiah Wilson was a lazy. God, this. I mean, it is personal when you talk about this, but what I came to learn of Isaiah Wilson during his very, very brief tenure here is that he was just a lazy good for nothing. Like he didn't care. He didn't care nearly enough. He fell asleep at meetings. He would drunk drive. Multiple instances of him wrecking cars, whether he was under the influence. In every one of those wrecks that were both reported and unreported, because I heard plenty of information about him wrecking multiple vehicles beyond what was reported or what ended up in a police report. You do any player a great disservice by comparing them to Isaiah Wilson. Isaiah Wilson will go down. I mean, arguably, Isaiah Wilson is the worst first-round draft pick ever by any organization for how little he contributed on a snap count basis. But I would have to go back and do more thorough research, basically from the NFL merger. But he's definitely in the running. If he's not number one, he's probably number two. He was a franchise killer. I mean, you're still suffering from Isaiah Wilson. Stock down stock falling, says PBFTJ on YouTube. Colt Anderson, Titan special teams coach. Yes, stock down. I agree. Dick Buckus says my stock fell. 401k is looking rough. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope your finances rebound. Cam Ward, Isaiah Wilson was Vrabel's guy and J-Rob got the heat. Well, now you're just talking out of your ass. You have no idea whether that's true or not. They were both in agreement, and it was the COVID draft. So I'm not going to let them off the hook, either of them off the hook for that. But based on what? Based on what information are you assigning that person to Mike Vrabel more than J-Rob? They are both equally culpable in drafting one of the worst players in NFL history. Neither person deserves more blame or less blame than the other when they both were totally on the same page about drafting Isaiah Wilson. Drew Acosta says Cam Ward, period. No other quarterback. Don't like Sanders, only tank for Cam. I don't want either of them. I want a vet. I don't want another rookie quarterback. I don't want to watch you figure it out. I know you don't care what I want because it's just my personal preference and whether or not I'm going to cover your team regardless of who's playing for your team. But I've just had about enough of you trying and failing miserably to regularly develop quarterbacks. And by the way, that's a league-wide problem. It's not just you, but you're particularly bad at it. And I don't think that you should be trusted with another rookie quarterback. I think that hopefully another organization gets a hold of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, and they're actually able to be successful as opposed to coming to a shitty team like this one or any team at the top of the draft. I don't mean specifically the Titans. I mean, I do mean specifically the Titans. The Titans are a shitty team, and I don't think a rookie would do much better in this situation than is Will Levis or Mason Rudolph. I don't think a rookie quarterback fixes your problems, even if it is the one that the coaching staff specifically selects, nor is there any guarantee that they work out at all. So I'd rather have a proven commodity. But again, that is a conversation for another day. Whose stock rose this week in sports? Whose stock fell this week in sports? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Stock down on, stock up on Dwayne Wade for being a good sport with his statue release, but stock down on the people that made the statue. Here's Dwayne Wade's statue being unveiled at the Miami Heat Arena.
Like, that's crazy. I can't believe that. Who is that guy?
Yeah, so he doesn't believe that it's his statue. Here's the unveiling of the statue. That's ugliest. And here's the statue maker whose stock went down because he's defending the hideous statue that he made.
I couldn't do better than that. I don't think anybody else could do better than that. It is what it is, and we would love it forever.
What about for you, Oscar? The positive vibes you get yesterday are wonderful, and obviously with positivity there will be negativity from some, no matter what the finished product is. So how do you handle that?
I think I handle that like maybe any other professional athlete, that misses a game-winning shot, and then they're scrutinized, and all the fans are disappointed. But that's just one moment. That's one moment, and when you do what we do, that's in the public eye, you're never going to please anybody or everybody at the same time. There are equal amounts of people that love it that don't. We've been fortunate to do pieces all over the world. Work with major arts aficionados that consider what we do a very, very high quality. In today's age and society, it's very easy to make comments, and those comments, once they snowball, they feel like they have more support, and then it keeps snowballing. Obviously you look for positive results, but it's the nature of what we do. It is what it is.
It is what it is a wild answer. A wild answer from the people responsible. I don't know what you know what I noticed about sculptures lately that or statues like this. Their eyes on the statue always seem to be way too close together. Like whether it was Ronaldo was obviously like something out of a nightmare. Like the Ronaldo statue is all time terrible. The Dwayne Wade one was not nearly as bad as that, but like Dwayne Wade's eyes are so close together on that statue. And my guy is just out here saying, yeah, it is what it is. It's whatever. I posed this to Bert earlier. I don't know. I don't understand how over the course of human history, we created such unbelievable works of art during the Renaissance period. Not to give you guys a history lesson or anything like that. I wouldn't pretend to know all the details of the Renaissance. It's been quite some time since I've had an art history class. But like how we go from the quality of art out of just blocks of marble being some of the most beautiful things, human forms that you've ever seen, down to the most minute detail, and then you fart out something like that in the modern era with all manner of technology at your disposal. That's pretty crazy to me. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out here with us. Bert says later the statue said the marble didn't bounce their way. That is such a shitty joke. Shame on you. You should be. You should come before the audience and submit yourself. Put yourself at the mercy of the court for your horrible jokes. That was probably the worst joke that you've ever told. It is a top 5 worst joke.
I said what I said.
That's going to do it for us tonight. See you guys tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. We'll have lots of fun, I promise. Wait. I told you I had an announcement.
Nope, that's it. Great show. Everybody, thanks for coming.
Get off my screen. I have hats to sell for charity. The Sad Boy Radio hats. are officially available to you. I'm going to drop the link in the live stream chat tonight for you guys to be able to purchase these. Now, here's the deal on the Sad Boy Radio hats, because I'm not just going to make a profit off of your misery, or at least more of a profit than I already do, because it's my job and your football team is terrible. But here's the kicker with the Sad Boy Radio hats, okay? They went live courtesy of our friend Sarah Jameson and her company, Rowdy Lou. They are $35 for the hat, and here's why. Now, there's the black rope hat like I have, or there's a white hat that is more in the trucker style of hat. Here's the deal on the hats, okay? I'm not making a cent off the Sad Boy Radio hats. We are donating the profits of the hats to Home Street Home. If you're not familiar with Home Street Home, it's a local charity here in Middle Tennessee that I've done fundraisers for before. It helps rehabilitate the unhoused community here in Middle Tennessee. And if you live in Nashville, or frankly, anywhere in the country right now, you understand how bad the unhoused how bad things have gotten for the unhoused population. Stephen Young, who runs Home Street Home, helps get people back on their feet, provides them with necessary resources to survive, helps them find work, helps them rehabilitate themselves, helps them find shelter that they themselves provide for their own. It is one of the best and most giving. Well, Stephen is one of the best and most giving people I've ever been around. The organization is excellent. So the profits of the Sad Boy Radio hats will go to Home Street Home, because winter is right around the corner. The unhoused community is going to be dealing with the elements. It's not just the heat, it's cold as well. So please, if you like the hats, honestly, if you get a hat and if you wear it to Nissan Stadium on Sunday for the Titans and the Patriots, perhaps you were planning on wearing a brown paper bag instead, perhaps go with something a little more fashion forward like the Sad Boy Radio hats. Those proceeds will go to Home Street Home. We're going to help buy tents. We're going to help buy food. We're going to help buy space heaters. We're going to help buy clothes for these people who are dealing with some of the most extreme and depressing and difficult things that any human being should not have to deal with. But that is the reality of life. And so we're going to do what we can to try and make those people's lives just a little bit better. So if you can, if you're willing, if you're able, if you wear it to Nissan Stadium, take a selfie and tag us on Twitter or Instagram, because I want to see a handful of Sad Boy Radio hats in the crowd on Sunday at Nissan Stadium, if you're brave enough to go to that football game. If you're not, I don't blame you at all. But like I said, I'm not going to make money off you being sad and being miserable and your football team sucking. But I am going to make money for charity off of it. So please follow the link that we have dropped in the live stream chat at your convenience. That link is specifically for the black rope hat that I have, but there is also on the Rowdy Lou page the link to the white trucker hat, the Sad Boy Radio trucker hat as well. Now we've made the announcements. Now you can go on with your evening. Now you can help us raise money for a good cause and also celebrate how spectacularly awful your football team is this year. See you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Now you're off the hook, Bert.
Go home! Go home! Go home!